morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, captains of the industry, government leaders, and development partners. It is really our honor to welcome you to the second Regional Industrial Conference, proudly convened by the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Today's theme is Enhancing Policy Advocacy for Sustainable Regional Industrial Growth.
We stand at a very pivotal time, ladies and gentlemen, where we have been joined by the 8th country in the East African community, Somalia. The original ESC was made up of Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. We were then joined by Rwanda and Burundi, and subsequently joined by South Sudan. We were joined by the DRC and Somalia. Nothing prospers unless it is showcased, unless it is marketed. So we are here to showcase opportunities, to highlight emerging opportunities in our, especially manufacturing sector.
Given our purpose at Stanbic, driving Uganda's growth and by extension, fueling the growth of East Africa, aligns very well with what is at the heart of this conference. Stanbic is committed to mobilizing in-country and regional capital, building institutional gaps in project preparation and advisory. Together, we will drive growth, foster industrial leadership, and unlock opportunities, boldly, sustainably, and regionally.
From a regional perspective, is critical from a point of AGRA's mission. And AGRA's mission is around how we transform agri-food systems across Africa. And recognizing the critical aspects of agri-food systems, industrialization is critical. So we believe that without investing in the right aspects that drive the economy, we're possibly making no headway.
What are you doing? What can we do? And how can we help to harmonize so that we make East Africa the best place to do business?
We all need an enabling environment. So every industrialist will need good and not actually cheap, I would call it, but a good financing mechanism.
There is no country that has implemented, has stipulated into the protocol of the East Africa. So there are so many contradictions depending on the national interest. So it is affecting the progress in the East Africa.
Business community need to claim their position, but also come with substance, not competing each other unnecessarily and distorting the markets.
Industrialization is not just a national pursuit, but a regional imperative. At PSFU, we have collaborated with the government of the Republic of Uganda and sister private sector bodies to integrate the market, to penetrate the African Continental Free Trade Area. So even as we try to penetrate the African Continental Free Trade Area, you do not simply arrive and say, here are my products, buy. You really must ensure that they are compliant to the standards, and in the context of international trade, that should be even be more emphasized.
Markets have been negotiated, regional markets and the level of the African Continental Free Trade Area, as well as the international markets. But the challenge is we still see the intra-trade still very low. And we urge the private sector to make sure that we grow the intra-trade within the partner states. Most of the investment policies we have in the region are actually FDI driven. How do I drive FDI into my country? Other than saying, how do we drive FDI into the region? How do we create our own joint investment projects? That's what the regional investment policy ought to speak to.
Among the top 10 importers of food products in the world, about 6 of those are also the top 10 exporters of food products. What does that mean? That again, we are exporting all the raw produce, they are adding value to it, and then selling it back to us. So again, for the youth, it is to get into that value addition space for a lot of the produce that we have here so that they can be able to improve the exports to the world.
When we speak about the region, it's not simply about And you've spoken passionately about having the same product. And you're right, it's homogeneous. But we also have raw materials and resources that we can move amongst ourselves. How can we facilitate that so that we just reduce on that cost? And Equity Bank is playing a central role.
I believe that tax holiday should be extended to a company which is coming to a specific sector where the government wants to promote that particular sector, and where maybe we don't have so much of a sector players.
And I think that's where we need to go. As we manufacture, can you support us and export real finished goods? If we get to that, I think we will be there.
The fight against illicit trade is not for government regulators anymore. I think the industries, consumers, and the general public, we need to step up and rebuild what is called the national quality culture.
Are we speaking to each other? Do we have the right voices and the right people in the room? And I looked around to try and identify the different stakeholders that would be relevant to this conversation. The government officials, the ministers, they need to hear, but do we have them in the room? We have their representatives, but sometimes the message gets lost in translation. By the time it reaches the final point, it has changed. Nevertheless, we must continue these conversations.